Welcome. In this session, we will be looking at the first set of analytical reasoning problems in the free LawPrep mock test. As always, with an analytical reasoning question set, start by first looking at the set of rules that are given to you. First, look at the passage. In this analytical reasoning set, you are given a set of rules about where certain paintings can be placed. And this is then followed by a set of questions. Let us begin by first understanding the rules, the implications of these rules, and then proceed to solving these questions one by one.
Alright, here's the thing with the analytical reasoning section. We just saw that this particular set of questions has 6 questions based on these rules that you find in the passage. Now what this means is that if you can really understand this passage well and understand the rules that are given in here, solving those 6 questions is unlikely to be hard. On the contrary, if you do not understand these, each of those 6 questions would be difficult. Also, we must first try to understand this passage without looking at the questions, so that once we've understood the passage well, we can focus on the questions without having to go back and look at the passages again and again. Now, let us read this passage line by line, try to understand what we can, and, as is very important in most analytical reasoning questions, draw a diagram. Let us have a look at the question now. It reads, a museum is to display 6 paintings. K, L, M, P, S and Y. I hope you understand. There's no need for you to remember their names. Just understand them. Just identify them by their first alphabet. Okay. In one of the 9 adjacent alcoves along one wall of its main gallery. Now, if you're like me, you don't understand the meaning of the word alcove. And let me tell you, it does not matter when you're solving LSAT India questions. Very rarely will you find questions that actually test you on vocabulary. Let's just think of it as a spot. Okay, so it says that you have 9 adjacent spots along one wall of the main gallery with 3 of them left empty. So you have 9 spots and 3 are to be left empty. The alcoves are numbered 1 through 9 consecutively. So we have 9 spots and we can number them 1 to 9. We need to know that 3 spots are left vacant. Okay. It says that exactly two of the paintings, L and M, capital L and capital M are landscapes. Let's represent landscape by a small l, the lowercase l. So L and M are landscapes, and exactly 3, it tells you that K, S and Y are portraits. Let's tabulate this now. So we know that landscapes, L in the lowercase, P in the smaller case for portraits. Now you'd see that you had 6 paintings in here, K, L, M, P, S and Y. Now you had details about L and M, K, S and Y, and nothing was said about P. Now you tell me, is this supposed to be considered a portrait or a landscape? The answer is, it is to be considered neither. When something is not told to you in an LSAT India problem, don't assume it. Just let it be. So I have not called it either a portrait or a landscape, and that does not matter. You can just proceed on the basis of the data that is given to you. Moving ahead, we have some restrictions. Let's have a look at the restrictions. The first one here says that neither of the landscapes can be displayed in positions 2, 4 or 6. Now you see that positions 2, 4 or 6 are these. And it says it cannot be a landscape, which means it cannot be L, right? Now instead of writing it as L, you can also think of it as not being capital L or capital M. That is what I have done in here, that you cannot have capital L or capital M on 2, 4 and 6. Okay, moving ahead, let us look at the second rule here, the restriction. It says alcove 9 cannot display a portrait, which means you cannot have a portrait here, which means that 9 cannot be K, S or Y. Moving on, let's look at some of the remaining rules. Right, let's look at the third rule here. K and L must be displayed adjacent to each other. Now you understand that if K and L are to be adjacent, it means you could either have KL or you could have L and K together. We can represent it like this, right? So KL interchangeably. Then we look at the fourth rule. if any alcove displays a landscape. Mhm. No more than one alcove adjacent to it can display any of the paintings. Now, what is the meaning of no more than one? So let's say if any alcove displays a landscape, let's say if maybe this one is displaying a landscape, which means it's either L or M, no more than one alcove adjacent to it, right, can display any of the paintings. Now, how many positions are there adjacent to something? There are only two positions. So it means no more than one, which means you cannot have two positions that are occupied adjacent to a landscape. Remember, there were three positions that were vacant. Now here's something you're knowing about the things that are going to be vacant. It says that at least one of these here has to be vacant because it says no more than one can display, which means either both of these can be vacant or one of these can be vacant, but in no situation can you have something on both sides. Okay, so let's also write that down in here. I write it as this way, which basically means that something is going to be vacant here. One of these will have to be vacant. Now we have the rules and the diagram in place. Once we have such a diagram, we can go ahead and now use this diagram to solve the questions individually, because I now don't need to get back to the set of rules again and again while looking at the questions. Okay, so with this question and all other questions, always first pause the video, try solving it by your own self, and only then should you look at the solutions. Do not treat this like your OTT show where you simply watch the solutions. It will not benefit you. So pause the video, try it by your own self, and after you've gotten your answer, look at the solutions. Alright, let's look at question number 1. It says, which one of the following is an acceptable display? What that means is that out of the 4 options that you see here, only one of the options is okay and the other 3 options are not okay. Now what I mean by not okay is that it is not following the rules. So simply look at each option, like start with option A, then look at B, and then you see as to where a rule is being violated. You'll find that only one option does not violate any rules, but you can get the answer here by elimination. Let us start with option A. Right, now look at option A. Look at the second character. It says lake, and you know that the second position cannot be lake. Therefore, A is not the answer. Let us now look at option B. Here, look at the 4th position, M. M is not supposed to be in the 4th position. Therefore, B is also not the answer. Let's look at option D. Now you see that K is here, and you can see that L is here. But we just seen that K and L are supposed to be adjacent to each other. Here they are not adjacent to each other. Therefore, D is also not the answer. So surely we know by elimination that C is the right answer, right? You can go ahead and also check it. C is the right answer. Question number 2. Pause the video and try it by your own self before proceeding any further. Now, as you can see, this question requires you to focus only on the positions 7, 8, and 9. Okay, you don't need to bother so much about what is in here. Focus on the requirement of the question. So let us now place these options one by one into the position 7, 8, 9 and see as to which of the 3 options are not okay. And we know that only one of them is acceptable. So let's go option by option. Let's look at option A. According to option A, you have K, L, and M here. Now, is there a problem here? Yes, there is. Because whenever you have L, we just seen that whenever you have a landscape, you need to ensure that at least one of the 2 positions adjacent to it is vacant. In this case, both positions have something. Therefore, A is not the right answer. Moving ahead. Alright, option B, lake, empty, and pipe. Let me write that here as L, dot, and P. When I look at this, I see no issues here, which means that it is an acceptable display to me, and that for me this is the right answer. Of course, for this video, we will go and have a look at options C and D as well, but I think I've found my answer. Anyway, let's have a look at C and D as well. Option C, it says L, Y, and P. Do you see any issues here? Well, you know that K and L have to always be together, which means that if L is here and Y is here, then this is the only spot that is left for K. Okay. Now, once that happens, there's another difficulty, which is that when you have L here, you want at least one of these 2 positions to be vacant. But in this case, we know that on On either side of L, we will have K and Y, which means that this rule is being violated. Therefore, C is not the answer. Now, option D, it says M empty lake M dot L. Is there a problem in here? Well, yes. You see, you know that this spot is empty and K and L have to be together. Now, in the absence of a 10th position, where do you put K? Which means that you cannot follow this rule here, and therefore D also is not the answer. B is our answer. Question number 3. I hope you've been able to see how simple it gets when you've been able to get your diagram right. I can't emphasize how important it is for you to focus on getting the diagram by looking at the passage and the instructions. The questions get really simple once you're done with that. Pause the video and try solving question number 3 by your own self before we proceed. Okay, it says that if lake is displayed in position 8, let me just put in lake in here. Okay, now we know that whenever there is L, then one of the two positions around it has to be empty, which means that either 7 or 9 has to be vacant. We also know that whenever there is an L, there has to be a K somewhere, right? Because L and K have to be together. Now we know that K cannot be here because K is prohibited in 9, which means that K has to be here. And if K is here and one position has to be empty, then we know that 9 has to be empty. Moving on to question number 4. Again, we start off with the same diagram. Pause the video, try solving it by yourself, and then let's look at the solutions together. Which of the following is an acceptable display? Again, we understand that out of the 4 options, one of them is acceptable and 3 of them are not acceptable. Let's look at them one by one. Let's start with option A. It says lake empty mountain Khan. Is there a problem with this? You see, K and L are supposed to be adjacent to each other. Here they are too far apart. Therefore, we know that A is not the right answer. Option B, let's simply write down what we see here. MP, K and L. Is there a problem? Yes, there is. You cannot have L in position number 4. Therefore, B is also not the right answer. Looking at option C. Now, M, P, L and K. Is there a problem here? Look, again the same old problem that L cannot have both positions filled. At least one of them has to be vacant, and therefore C is also not the answer. Now that we've already eliminated options A, B and C, obviously D is the right answer, but you can see here that it all works pretty well. You can put an L here and D is the right answer. Okay, question number 5. It's slightly tricky, slightly challenging, requires you to pay attention. Pause the video and try it by your own self first. Alright, let's look at it together. Now, you can see here that M, P, S and Y are to take these positions 6, 7, 8 and 9, but not necessarily in that order. What that means is that maybe you could have M in position 6 or M in position 7 or M in 8, S in 7, right? You get that. Now, instead of going through the options to see as to which one must be true, which means that which of the following is true in all situations, instead of going option by option, this time let us spend some time trying to see what the possibilities are. Okay, and let's see if the answer just surfaces from that, whether the answer emerges from that. Okay, when you look at these 4 positions here and the 4 characters, you know that M cannot be in position 6. So let's just mark that in here. M cannot be in position 6. Right. The next thing that you can see is that all of these 4 positions are filled, right? That means none of these 4 has an empty spot. Okay, otherwise you know that there are 3 empty spots out of the 9, right? But out of 6, 7, 8 and 9, there is no dot, there's no empty spot. Now, just let's have a look at M once again. Now you see the rule with M is that it should have at least one spot vacant, or it should be at the end. You know, because you know the rule that it is not possible for M or L to have something on both sides. We know this, right? So we understand that M will either have to have something vacant or M should be at the very end. So that, you know, this ensures that, so let's say there's something here, maybe there's P here. And if this were the last one, then this ensures that there's only one here. Now if M were to be in 7 or 8, let's say you'd put M here or you'd put M here, then definitely it'd have something on both sides. If it were here, you'd have something on both sides, which means that there's only one place M can be. It cannot be in 6, cannot be in 7, cannot be in 8. M has to be in 9. Look at the option A. It reads that M has to be in alcove 9. Our answer is A. Again, question number 6, an interesting question. Pause the video, try solving it by your own self first. Alright, now let's first try to understand the question. You can see here which one of the following could be true. So what this question is telling you is that one of these 4 options here could be true. Now what does this tell you about the other 3 options? What do you know about the other 3 options? What you know about the other 3 options is that these 3 options must be false. Now understand that could be true means that it could be true or it could be false, right? But these 3 options would be false in all cases. I want you to spend as much time as you need to be able to comprehend this. If you do not understand this, pause the video, spend more time until you do. Okay, I'll now proceed with the solution of the question. Now, you can see from here that from the rules that 1 and 9 are supposed to be empty, so I've crossed them out. As you can see, I've crossed them out. Okay, now it says that each of the portraits are displayed in the alcoves 2, 3 and 4, right? So you have K, S and Y, the 3 portraits in 2, 3 and 4. Now before looking at the options, like we saw even in the previous question, let us spend some time and see whether we can gather something more on the basis of what is given here, and maybe the answer will again emerge. Now if K, S and Y are to be in these positions, and we know that K and L have to be together, where can we put K and L together? If you put K here in the second position, you can't obviously put L here because there's nothing here. If K is here, you will have S and Y on these 2 positions, which means that there's only one place left for K because you can put L in position number 5. So we've fixed position number 4 and position number 5. All right. Let's see if there's something more we can get. You know that L, because of this rule, will have to have the position 6 vacant, because you see L cannot have both positions around it filled, adjacent to it filled. Now that we have some knowledge, let us have a look at the options, okay, one by one. Now K is displayed in alcove 2. Well, we know that this must be false. We just saw that K has to be in 4 in all cases. Therefore, A is not the right answer. It cannot be true because it must be false, right? It comes in this category of the must be false. Let's look at option B. It says L is displayed in 6. We just saw that 6 has to be empty. It has to be vacant. Therefore, we know that option B also must be false. Let us look at option C. M is displayed in alcove 7. Now if you see, we don't know what the alcove 7 could be, right? We've not yet paid enough attention to that. So maybe, M could be in 7 or maybe not. Let's have a look at option D and then come back to see if required. Let's have a look at option D. Now D. Now if we find out that option D falls within the category of must be false, then we know that C is the answer. Now look at option D. It says pipe is displayed in alcove 6. We just saw that alcove 6 has to be empty. Therefore, we know with certainty that C is the right answer. I want you to understand this. We cannot say that M definitely is going to be in position 7. All that we know is that it is possible for M to be in 7, which is why could be true. If you've not understood the difference between could and must, I again urge you pause the video and think about it. It's an extremely important question for you to be able to solve LSAT India questions effectively.